I was brought up on mostly a diet of American films. My mother and sister in the 30s were great film fans. And if it was a British picture, I mean, there was nothing worse you could say of a film than it was a British picture.
I think films still have a certain prestige, but then in England anyway, so do certain television things. You know, it's not the... There isn't a great snobbery about it because the same people work in both industries.
I have no truck with that great British thing, restraint. You know, they say this, the highest accolade the British critic can give any film is that it's restrained. Well, to me, restraint means tied up. And how can you direct when you're tied up? Especially as I operate the camera. I couldn't operate it like this.
Welcome to London, where the British film scene is changing unmistakably. Today, the film studios are mostly empty, and when they're rented, it's usually to Americans. James Bond, Star Wars, and Batman were all shot here. Hello, I'm Rita Gam, and in the next half hour, we'll be talking with some of the people who make movies in the United Kingdom, when they get the chance. The great days of Alexander Corder, J. Arthur Rank and Ealing Studios are long over, and in their place is a fierce group of independent producers, directors, and distributors, all chasing after the same limited monies. The size of the audience has shrunk, and while the cost of making movies has doubled and even tripled, even the well-made, low-budgeted British film can't be counted on to recover its cost, and certainly not from British sales alone. The international success of epics like Gandhi and The Last Emperor is misleading. They were made with heavy U.S. investment, and they were filmed abroad. The British technicians are outstanding, and they cost far less here than they do in the States. No wonder Hollywood comes here. If it weren't for them, the local industry would collapse. But the British are invincible. Give them a challenge, and they'll rise to it. Lindsay Anderson has been one of the country's leading filmmakers for 35 years. From This Sporting Life to If to Oh Lucky Man, he has given us a unique portrait of the British working class. I asked him how he's seen the British film industry change in his lifetime.
Has it changed? The British cinema is apt to go through periods of renaissance, of vitality, produce some very good pictures, and these periods never last. The same has happened in a way quite recently. You get big hits, apparent hits like Gandhi and Chariots of Fire, but they're not generally followed up with anything. So the British cinema has never felt stable. It's never been an industry that the directors can count on for backing.
From the 1930s, Britain has won many Oscars. 1992, Anthony Hopkins in Silence of the Lambs. 1989, Phyllis Dalton, Henry V, and Brenda Fricker, My Left Foot. And the marvelous Daniel Day-Lewis, My Left Foot. What a triumph for a country whose film industry has not followed up with anything. The first thing to understand about British cinema is that investment capital is scarce. So the government tries to help in the form of subsidies. After all, Britain is a socialist country. Simon Relf runs an organization called British Screen.
It exists to support the filmmaking community in this country, not just to make films about Britain, but to make films wherever they want. We have not very much money.
They provide £5 million a year spread out among a dozen films. That's a little under $8.5 million, or an average of $700,000 a film. Not bad, but not nearly enough. Of more than 40 films receiving subsidy, only one so far has broken through to become an international success. The romantic A Room with a View.
bourgeois Americans may be tremendously impressed by A Room with a View, because they think it's so lovely and it looks lovely and the people speak in such a lovely way.
Lucy!
But you don't imagine that your popular audience in this country cares about A Room with a View. They don't.
A Room with a View and many other films owe their existence to the involvement of Channel 4, a television broadcasting company which also co-finances theatrical films. Producer Tim Bevan and his partner Sarah Radcliffe were among those to benefit.
Sarah Radcliffe and I met each other in about 1982. And very idealistically, we decided that we'd like to be producers. We were both working in production at the time. And we didn't have any money, so we started a music clip video company that produced pop promos. And we generated a cash flow out of that. And from that cash flow, we started to develop and acquire material that for feature films, basically.
My Beautiful Laundrette was their first film and a hit. Its director was Stephen Frears.
I was sent the scripts, and I'd just recently come across a lot of young people. And so I went to Tim and Sarah and said, why don't you and these young people make this film? So I made it like a sort of old man working with very young people. We made it very, very cheaply. We made it for television. We made it with tremendous spirit and commitment and, you know, inventiveness and necessity. And then it sort of ended happily when it went into the cinema quite by accident.
But success creates new problems.
Look at a director like Stephen Frears. Okay, he's been making films for a long time in this country, and he's done some very good stuff. And then he makes Dangerous Liaisons for the Americans, and his next picture is going to be made in the States.
He's not the only one. In recent years, Hollywood has successfully wooed Alan Parker, Michael Apted, Adrian Lyne, Ridley Scott, Tony Scott.
So the British director is almost forced, if he's going to become a popular director, he's forced to go to Hollywood. And they are. And you know, the Americans, one good thing I'll say about them is that they are very much on the lookout for talent. And if they see talent, they want to grab it and exploit it.
I think this sort of brain drain of top movie directing and producing talent to Hollywood is kind of inevitable. We lack the resource here for filmmakers to work on the broadest canvas. There's a limitation in the scale of movies that can be funded here. And I think inevitably, once a director has made 2 or 3 movies at that level, he wants to do something bigger and bolder. Most of them do, anyway.
I think most of the talented directors, English directors there are, of feature films, are now working in the States. I'd be there myself, and probably I'd do a lot more work if I actually liked living there. Now, it's fine to work in Los Angeles, but the idea of actually living in that desert, you know, I would just find totally, I'd rather be dead.
Fortunately, Ken Russell isn't the only director staying home. A new generation of talent has exploded on the local scene, like Bruce Robinson, author of The Killing Fields, who took enormous risks when he got a chance to direct.
Come on, he needs some help. But what are we going to tell him?
Handsome.
directors like Neil Jordan with Mona Lisa, Mike Newell with Dance with a Stranger, and Mike Figgis with Stormy Monday won acclaim, and the inevitable Hollywood offers followed. Michael Caton Jones decided to take on the daring story of the Profumo scandal, and in the process, helped make a rising star of Joanne Wally Kilmer.
What do you think, Eugene? Go on. Go on. Oh, let's have it off. Looks like something my grandmother would wear. Go on, let's have it off. Oh, baby.
No, it's been a hell of a week. This Kuwait business.
A terrible place, Kuwait. Stinks of piss.
What's that?
What's what?
I heard a laugh.
Laugh.
Get it off, girl! Hey, good girl, good girl! Splendid, girl! Hello, Bill!
Got you.
Oh, Christine beat John Profumo, Minister for War.
The film recovered its cost in Britain alone. The problem is far too few do.
We've always had problems with finance, and money. There's enormous talent in this country, talent in the industry itself, and you've got some of the greatest cameramen in the world, and directors, and actors, and writers. I think we just need to get a bit more gritty, a bit more punchy with it, instead of being so polite. I mean, I think there's a tendency, I think. It's only my opinion. I was in a film a couple of years ago which is so slow, I won't mention the bit, but it was so slow, I wanted to call the police.
Who wants to invest in a British film? The British public has been completely seduced by Hollywood, and with reason, because Hollywood has always supplied vital, classless, also very important, entertainment, which the British have got used to.
What do you mean by classless entertainment?
Well, you see, I think this is very important and not often talked about. This is, I don't know if you've noticed in Britain, this is still a class society. There was a myth about, I don't know, 20 years ago, if you like, that class was now a thing of the past. That's complete rubbish. The English love their classes.
Peter Greenaway doesn't care if you like his pictures or not. He's an intellectual aesthete. He makes his films as deliberately provocative, obscure, and even offensive as he can get away with.
I own this restaurant. I want my wife. You've enough. Where is she?
Greenaway's rage with the world is vividly demonstrated by actor Michael Gambon.
Don't get it up! Don't get it up! Don't get it up!
Like Laurence Olivier and Paul Scofield, Michael Gambon is one of Britain's stage greats who has made the transition to film.
I'll kill him and I'll eat him!
Britain's greatest national resource has always been its actors.
I'd always wanted to be a film actor more than I ever wanted to be a stage actor. I always wanted to go to Hollywood, and I did. My dream came true.
Did any particular actor have an impact on you, either British or American?
I was brought up on the Warner Brothers movies, Cagney and Humphrey Bogart. Edward G. Robinson, all that lot. Those had a very profound influence on my life, really.
Not everyone wants to go to Hollywood.
Not about glamour.
Educating Rita hasn't changed Julie Walter.
I love things like Dynasty and Dallas. I love them. But I would never particularly want to be, they'd never asked me to be in them. God knows you can't have acne and be in Dallas. I'm sorry, you can't. You've got to have shoulder pads and everything else and all the, and I'm not that sort of person, and it doesn't mean much to me.
One thing the British have always loved is a laugh. Chaplin was only the first of many great comic talents to export the music hall tradition. In recent years, that tradition has been upheld almost exclusively by the Monty Python troupe and an occasional sleeper like A Private Function. Clearly, there is an international market for comedy, but British producers today are looking elsewhere for subject matter. At least they're providing opportunities for a new generation of rising British stars. Who can resist the adorable Emily Lloyd? She's already gone on to star in 2 big Hollywood films.
Hello.
Hello. What are you laughing at?
It's hot. We all like riding bikes. I fancy you, actually. You can take me to the pictures if you want. There's a Betty Grable film on at the Dome. You can take me if you want.
Yeah, maybe.
You think I've got legs like Betty Grable?
I don't know.
You can take me on Saturday night. I buy my own ticket.
All right.
Bye. Ryan! Betty Grable!
Natasha Richardson is the daughter of Vanessa Redgrave and distinguished director Tony Richardson. Her range is considerable. Here we see one side of her talent with the always sympathetic Colin Firth.
Look.
Many men would say that you were beautiful, Mrs. Keach. Yes, well, that's what comes of believing in paradise.
My God! And the other side of her talent, with one of Britain's hottest new faces, Gabriel Byrne.
Why this sudden concern for your stepsister?
What do you mean?
Always the 3 of you, the same bedroom, the same bed sometimes. Claire told me about your nights in Trois Maisons. You shared him.
Rubbish!
You don't care about Claire or her horrors. You're afraid. You're jealous. You're afraid that she'll steal him from you.
Lord Nom is his only mistress. He doesn't need another.
Admit it. You know the 2 of them. Violence. And I thought you that contradiction in terms. An intelligent woman.
Love has many faces. Helena Bonham Carter and Julian Sands played the leads in A Room with a View. Neither of them have been out of work since.
Yet at the same time so violent. Miss Emerson? I've never been so much ashamed of myself in my life. I can't think what came over me.
That's perfectly natural. I nearly fainted myself.
Well, I owe you 1,000 apologies. And I want to ask you as a great favor. You know how silly people are. Gossiping. Ladies especially, I'm afraid. You understand what I mean?
No.
I mean, would you not mention it to anyone? My foolish behavior. What was that? I believe it was my photographs you threw away.
I didn't know what to do with them. They were covered with blood. There, now I've told you.
I had a theory that I wanted to have a character, and Lucy was very much a passive character to play, and all that was required of me was to do nothing. And I didn't know then that, in fact, the most effective thing often is, on film, is doing nothing. It might not be the most satisfying thing for an actor, but it works often.
If it's glamour you want, no one conveys it with the elegance or the cool sophistication of Greta Scacchi, especially when she acts with the suave Charles Dance.
Gilbert Colville's the only one who's found a way of living with it.
Why me?
I want you for my sake, Diana. I'm being entirely selfish. I want you more than I've ever wanted anyone in my rather shoddy life. I want you to save me from myself.
Charles. I love you.
Can you trust your friend? Speaking of love, here is the appealing Imogen Stubbs and James Wilby. She's playing a country girl hopelessly smitten with a boy out of her class.
Can you do that?
Oh, yes, I'll try.
About midday, go up to the rocks on the road to Bovey Tracy. I'll come up from the station and meet you there.
I don't know what you're saying. I don't know what you mean.
I mean, I need you. I want you. I love you. You do love me, don't you?
Oh, yes. But what shall I wear?
I'll buy you a dress in Torquay. Oh, say you'll come, Megan. Please say you'll come.
You haven't thought what you're doing.
I've thought of nothing else all day.
But what shall I do when I get to London?
Soon, perhaps. If you'll have me, we'll be married.
Oh, no. You couldn't marry me. You couldn't.
Kristen Scott Thomas has it all. Beautiful eyes, a delicate complexion, and a voice that recalls early Vivian Leigh. Poor Rupert Graves. All he can do is stare and gulp.
Oh, dear. You have got a lot to learn. I'm not sure it wasn't a mistake taking you out to dinner. Ask for the bill and let's go to Polly. You've got to learn to be nicer. I don't believe you'd find it impossible.
I'm sorry.
How much should we tip him?
Daniel Day-Lewis won the Oscar for good reason. Like Alec Guinness or Albert Finney, he transforms himself so totally from role to role that he is almost never recognizable. An actor's actor.
Give us one of them flowers, Ma.
I think if there is a fault in England at the moment, it's that it's an inward-looking place. It's looking at what's going on in England and imagining it's you know, of importance to everyone else in the world.
And although, say, in Europe, you generally get your cinema industry subsidized, you're not going to get Margaret Thatcher subsidizing the cinema.
People talk about that British cinema, and it's rather nationalistic, and it's rather nice that at the moment there are more possibilities than that. But of course, it's where your heart is, or it's where your life is. You can't escape that.
Yes, British cinema has clearly embarked on its international phase. It no longer stands or falls on what may be shooting at Pinewood Studios. You've heard of Anglo-American co-productions. Get ready for more Anglo-French, Anglo-Italian, Anglo-Hungarian, and even Anglo-Japanese. British directors with Spanish crews, Soviet crews with British actors and French directors. The 1980s belonged to the likes of David Putnam, and pictures with grit and style, The Killing Fields and Chariots of Fire. But in the 1990s, British talent is up for grabs.
Line up, line up! Get in line! Come on now! Dressing from the right. Late. Why study before prayers? Eyes front. Keep still down there, you little ones. It's discipline that wins wars. Right, turn. Quick, march. Left, right, left, right, left, right. Swing those arms. Oh, God, bring destruction to our enemies. Make these young ones true soldiers of the law. Guide Mr. Churchill's hand in the cunning of war. Let our righteous shells smite down the Messerschmitts and the Fokkers. Lord, send troublesome dreams to Herr Hitler. Let him not sleep the sleep of the innocent. And comfort our warriors at the fronts. Brighten their swords and burnish their bullets with your fire. Beseech thee, O Lord, to have mercy on these thy children. Dedicate our studies this day to the war effort. Amen.
Hymn number 540.
Fight the good fight with all thy might.
Stirring words, bold action, and now brave hopes for the future as Britain goes forward with film triumphs like Kenneth Branagh's Henry V.